I bought the ring, but she spent the night with a stranger. I thought I was weeks away from proposing to the love of my life. 4 years together, 2 years under the same roof, tiny domestic rituals that felt like promises, her humming while she watered the plants, my habit of leaving the last slice for her, the grocery list we kept on the fridge with inside jokes between the milk and bread. I even bought the ring. It's still in my drawer, heavier than it looks. Next month, on a trip we'd already booked, I was going to ask her to spend the rest of her life with me. She had no idea. I'd picked the overlook she loved, the one that makes the city look soft and far away. I rehearsed a sentence in the mirror. It's always been you. Then one night she went out with her friends and came home different. She unlocked the door like it might make a noise she couldn't handle. Lips chapped, eyes that skimmed past me and landed on the floor. She said she was tired, that the bar was loud, that they closed late. She smiled without teeth, the way people do when they're holding something in their mouth they can't swallow. I made coffee. She said she wasn't hungry. I asked how it was. She said, fine, fine, is a shut door with the lights on behind it. I told myself not to push. I told myself I knew her tells, how she bites the inside of her cheek when she's lying to herself, not to me. My gut kept tugging my sleeve. I kept pretending I didn't feel it. The truth came the next night, like it was tired of being chased. She sat on the edge of the bed with both hands in her lap, like she'd been told to wait there until a parent came home. The apology was already sitting in the room before she spoke. I hooked up with someone, she said, at the bar. Silence can be a shape. This one had sharp corners. Then came words stacked like sandbags against a flood. She was drunk. It was stupid. She regretted it. She loved me. She wanted to fix it. She would do anything. Please, please, don't throw us away. The ring in my drawer turned into a bad joke I didn't know how to explain. A week ago, I was practicing a proposal speech. Now I was practicing how to breathe without making a sound. I wish I could say I'm spotless in this story. I'm not. Months back, I found messages on her phone, explicit, flirty, late-night lines to a stranger she met online. It split something I thought was solid. She cried. She said it meant nothing. She promised to stop. I chose belief because belief was easier than starting over alone. And then I did something that didn't make us even. It made me smaller. I joined a NSFW group. I asked strangers for nudes. I told myself it wasn't cheating if I didn't touch. I told myself it was balance, justice, math. But love isn't a scoreboard. It's a mirror. And I didn't like who looked back. So here we are, her night at a bar, my midnight inbox, our shared home, this bed we picked together, and a future I drew carefully now smudged like rain through chalk. I don't know how to look at her. I don't know how to look at myself. I keep opening the drawer and closing it, like the ring might answer a question I haven't learned to ask. I used to believe betrayal had one clean line you could point it and say, there, that's where it broke. It's messier. Sometimes it's a phone at 2 a.m. on low brightness. Sometimes it's a stranger's hand under red lights and bad music. Sometimes it's the promise you meant when you said it and abandoned when you got tired of being the version of yourself that keeps promises. Sometimes it's all of it. Slowly, I replay the ordinary days that led us here. The slow Sundays, the cilantro argument, the way she says, hey, when she wants a hug before her bag hits the floor. Were those days real? Or were they a bridge we were already burning and too far from the flames to smell smoke? If you ask what hurts most, it isn't the image of her with someone else. It's arithmetic. I was ready to give her my life, and she couldn't give me one honest night. I want to hate her. My grief won't let me. It keeps reminding me people don't crack in a single moment. They crack across all the tiny moments they called fine. Fine is the soft word for danger. Tonight I tried to be noble, to say measured things in a steady voice. She cried into her sleeves. I kept my hands at my sides because I didn't know what holding her would mean anymore. She offered solutions like coupons, delete everything, block everyone, no more girls' nights, share passwords, therapy, move, marry me tomorrow if that's what it takes. Inside that flood I could hear two currents, love and fear. Inside me, both. What happened? I asked. His name? Did you think about me? Why didn't you call? Why does sorry feel like a bandage you're pressing on a cut you keep making? I didn't ask the question that screamed loudest. If I hadn't known, would you have told me? Her answer was quiet, and it wore too many faces. I need time, I said. She nodded like a person trying not to shake. She slept on the couch. I lay in our bed like a trespasser. The apartment made new noises, or maybe I just heard them now. The fridge humming, a neighbor's faucet coughing through the pipes, a siren dragging red light across our ceiling. I counted lines in the dark and tried to remember what it felt like to trust something without checking its pulse. Morning came gray and ordinary. I made coffee for one and drank it anyway. She whispered, I'm sorry, like a prayer with no church left. I wasn't ready to be a congregation. Here's the part one don't want. My coping wasn't a reflex. It was a decision. I went looking for a mirror that would tell me I was still wanted. I turned myself into a number to survive a number she made me feel like. It didn't fix anything. It just salted the ground I hoped something might grow from. So when I look at her, I see two things at once. The person who swung a sledgehammer at what I was building, and the person standing in the same dust while I'm still holding a chisel from last winter. How do you judge wreckage when some of your fingerprints are on it? I don't know. I only know the future I rehearsed is gone, and the ring isn't a promise tonight. It's a question. I walked without a destination. Sidewalks, traffic lights, the comfort of moving forward even if you don't know where. I passed a bar, not the same, but the kind. Neon, laughter spilling onto the street. A song I used to love felt wrong on my skin. I thought about our trip, her face when she's truly surprised, the line I'd planned, it's always been you, and how it sounds now like something you say in a different life. There's a grief no one warns you about, mourning a moment that never happened. On the way back I bought a cheap spiral notebook because my phone feels like a place where lies live easily. On the first page I wrote, I am hurt. I am not crazy. I did things I'm not proud of. I still wanted us. I I don't know if I do now. I don't have to decide today. I came home to a quiet that sounded like it had a job. She was at the counter, hair tied back like she was trying to be smaller than her body. Can we talk? She asked. I need a shower, I said. I stood under hot water until the mirror fogged and waited for it to decide for me. Steam doesn't make choices. Maybe that's what honesty is. Not a clean line, but a room you sit in until the light changes and you can finally see what's there. What's here? A ring I don't recognize. A woman I love who did something she can't undo. A man who wanted to be a fiancé and became a headline he never wanted. Two people who forgot how to say, not fine, when the word mattered most. What's not here? The version of me that thought late night DMs were harmless because they didn't touch skin. The version of her who said, don't wait up, and meant nothing will happen. What might still be here? A version of us braver than either of us has been. Or just me. Maybe that's enough. I moved the ring from the drawer to the dresser where the air could get to it. Not as a promise, as a reminder. The future is built, not imagined, and if you don't guard it, a stranger's hands will. I lay down on top of the covers, shoes off, eyes open. Through the wall, someone's TV laughed. The plants on our sill tilted toward the last strip of light like they always do, faithful to anything warm. I don't know what I'll choose. Tonight, I'm choosing to tell the truth, even if it makes both of us smaller before it makes either of us whole. And in the morning, if I still can't answer the big questions, I'll answer the small ones. Coffee or tea, walk or sit, speak or stay quiet. Sometimes healing is just a day made of small true things. That's all I have. For now, the ring sat on the dresser all night. I couldn't stop looking at it. Every time I rolled over, the glint caught me like an accusation. That box wasn't a symbol anymore. It was a witness. It knew everything. The proposal that never happened. The confession that shattered me. The choices I buried in my own shame. The next morning, she tried again. She stood in the doorway while I drank coffee. Her face was swollen from crying. Her hair looked slept on and uneven. She was smaller somehow, not in size, but in presence. Please, she whispered. I'll do anything. I can fix this. Fix. Like love was a leaky pipe and all she needed was duct tape. I didn't yell. I didn't throw things. I didn't tell her what I wanted most. To turn the clock back 2 nights. Instead, I said, why now? She blinked. Why what? Why tell me now? If I hadn't asked, would you have told me at all? Her silence was worse than an answer. I stared at her. 4 years of history. Vacations, birthdays, Sunday breakfasts, stupid fights over dishes, laughter in parking lots. Her head on my chest at 2 a.m. Was it all just scaffolding around a truth too weak to stand? I wanted her to break down and say, yes, I messed up. I'm sorry. I don't deserve you. But instead, she said, I didn't want to lose you. That was the knife. Not love. Fear. Not truth. Control. She didn't confess to free me. She confessed to keep me. The ring was burning a hole in the dresser behind me. I turned, opened the box, and held it up. This, I said, was next month. Her hand flew to her mouth, tears instantly spilling. She whispered, oh my God. I snapped the box shut. The sound was louder than her sob. I was about to ask you to spend the rest of your life with me, I said, and you couldn't even get through one night. She fell apart in front of me, hands shaking, words tumbling out too fast to catch. I didn't mean it. I was drunk. I hated myself the second it happened. Please don't throw us away. You're my person. You're my everything. We can come back from this. But every apology felt like it was written in invisible ink. I couldn't see it, couldn't feel it. And then, like a punch I didn't see coming, guilt hit me. Because I wasn't clean either. I'd caught her months ago sexting some stranger online. I should have walked away then. I didn't. I believed her when she said it meant nothing. And when the trust cracked, I did something worse. I tried to patch my broken pride with my own betrayal. I joined a group. I asked strangers for pictures. I told myself it wasn't cheating if there was no touch. But betrayal doesn't need skin to burn. And now, standing in front of her, I wasn't just a victim. I was a hypocrite with a velvet box. I wanted to scream at her, but the mirror in my head screamed back at me. We weren't just broken by her bar. We were broken by my silence, by the messages I sent at 2 a.m., by the forgiveness I offered too cheaply. This wasn't one wound. It was 1,000 paper cuts, hidden under sleeves, until someone bled too much to hide it anymore. She kept begging. I kept standing still. At one point she reached for me. I stepped back, and the space between us felt wider than any bar, any stranger, any betrayal. It felt permanent. That night I slept in the living room. I stared at the ceiling and wondered if love can survive when both people are guilty. Is love stronger than betrayal? Or is betrayal just proof love wasn't strong enough? The ring on the dresser didn't answer. It just sat there, heavy, silent, waiting for me to decide if it would ever mean anything again. Silence is louder when two people are avoiding the same subject. Our apartment became a museum of quiet. She moved softer, like footsteps could break me. I spoke less, like words could betray me. We lived together, but it felt like we were camping on opposite cliffs. She made breakfast. I didn't eat it. I made dinner. She didn't sit at the table. We circled each other like shadows, coexisting but never colliding. At night, I could hear her crying in the bedroom while I lay awake on the couch. The sound wasn't dramatic. It was muffled, bitten down, like she didn't want me to notice. But I noticed everything, because I couldn't stop. Every gesture was a question. Was that guilt? Was that love? Was that fear? Or was it just habit? She tried to reach me in small ways. A hand brushing mine when she passed me the salt. A text in the middle of the day, thinking of you. An offer to go to therapy. To give me her passwords. To prove she could be trusted again. But each offer felt like a band-aid on a wound that went bone deep. And I wasn't sure I wanted to heal it. Because every time she apologized, my own guilt came back sharper. I kept seeing the group chat. The strangers I invited in. The nudes I asked for. The nights I pretended balance was justice. I told myself her betrayal was bigger. She touched someone else. She crossed a line I didn't. But betrayal isn't math. You don't weigh it on a scale and crown a winner. You bleed either way. One night, she sat on the couch across from me. Her eyes were swollen. Her voice was wrecked. Do you still love me? She asked. The question punched a hole in the room, because the answer was yes. And also no. And also I don't know anymore. Yes, I whispered. But I don't know if it's enough. She broke then, head in her hands, body shaking. And I just sat there. Because sometimes love isn't enough to move you. The hardest part wasn't her tears. It was the memories that came crawling back. Her laugh echoing in grocery aisles. Her voice humming in the shower. The way she clung to me in the middle of the night, half asleep, whispering, don't let go. All those moments felt poisoned now, like photographs with ink smeared across the faces. I started writing in the notebook every night. Not poetry, not even sentences, just fragments. I feel like I'm grieving someone who's still alive. Love isn't gone, but it's bruised. Trust is a house without doors now. The pages filled fast, and still, nothing felt lighter. She tried to initiate intimacy one night. A kiss. Soft, hesitant, trembling. I froze. Because it felt wrong. Because it felt right. Because my body remembered what my mind couldn't forgive. I pulled away. She whispered, I miss us. I whispered back, I don't know if this exists anymore. Days blurred into each other. Work, dishes, laundry, silence, guilt. A relationship surviving on muscle memory, not heartbeat. She kept fighting for us, and I kept wondering if she was fighting for me, or for the version of her that didn't destroy everything. The truth is, I wanted to forgive her, but forgiveness requires trust, and trust requires honesty, and honesty requires courage. We had none left. The ring didn't feel like a promise anymore. It felt like a gravestone. Every time I opened the drawer, I didn't see the future. I saw the night she walked into our apartment smelling like another man's cologne. I saw the girl who used to be my safe place now standing in front of me as a stranger. The velvet box was supposed to hold a question. Now it held an answer I didn't want. This wasn't the first time she betrayed me. Months earlier, I found her sexting a random guy she'd met online. Explicit, intimate, words that should have been mine. She cried that night, begged me to believe it was meaningless, said she just liked the attention, that she never meant to act on it. I should have left then. I didn't. I told myself people make mistakes, that she chose me in the end, that forgiveness meant strength. But forgiveness without change is just permission, and I gave it. Now, when she stood in front of me sobbing about a stranger at the bar, all I could think was, I knew this was coming. Not this exact night, not this exact man, but this moment. Because once someone shows you how little your trust means to them, believing it'll never happen again is just willful blindness. Friends started to notice. A buddy asked me why I looked tired. My sister asked me if we were fighting. Even my boss asked if I was okay, because apparently heartbreak has a posture. I lied to all of them, said work was stressful, said I wasn't sleeping, said nothing at all, because saying the truth out loud made it real, and I wasn't ready to hear my own voice confirm what my heart already knew. At night, I filled more pages in my notebook. I'm staying, but I don't know why. Do I love her, or just the version of her I met 4 years ago? Is comfort a good enough reason to stay when trust is gone? The handwriting got darker, harder pressed, angrier. I tore one page out so violently it ripped the next two. She tried so hard to prove she was still mine. She texted me pictures of us from happier days. She left notes on the mirror. She bought my favorite snacks. She touched me softly in passing, like reminding my skin of what my heart was trying to erase. But nothing worked, because proof of love doesn't matter when the foundation is cracked. You can paint the walls, but the house still tilts. The ring sat there every day, taunting me. It was supposed to mean beginning. Now it screamed ending. Every time I looked at it, I didn't think of the proposal I planned. I thought of the confession I heard. I thought of the bar, the stranger, the image I couldn't scrub from my mind no matter how hard I tried. The ring wasn't ours anymore. It was mine, and it was heavy. One evening, she asked if she could see it. The ring, she whispered. The one you bought. I froze. How did she know? Had I been careless? Did she find the box? She looked at me with red-rimmed eyes. I want to know what you were planning. I couldn't do it. I couldn't put that symbol in her hands, because it wasn't hers anymore, and maybe it never really was. I walked away. She didn't follow, and that silence felt like the truest thing we had left. I used to daydream about the ordinary future, not the big moments, weddings, parties, promotions, the small ones, Sunday laundry, arguing about which lamp is uglier, fighting over whether we should get the nice towels no one is allowed to use or the regular ones that actually dry you. I could see it so clearly I forgot it wasn't guaranteed. Now, when I let my mind wander, it doesn't go forward. It circles the same night, the same bar, the same stranger I'll never meet whose shadow sleeps between us. I keep telling myself to stop imagining the life we almost had, but grief likes reruns. The ring is still on the dresser where I left it. I move it sometimes, not on purpose, just to keep my hands busy when my mind is loud. There's a groove in the velvet now, a faint line from my thumb. It makes me angry that I made a mark on the box instead of putting the ring where it was meant to go. I hate that my most expensive secret became my most painful evidence. She asked me again, softly, can we try? The question followed me around the apartment like a song stuck in the next room. Can we try? Can we try? Can we try? I wanted to say yes just to quiet the noise. Yes to buy time. Yes to postpone the thing I haven't named yet, because once you name it, it starts to grow. Instead, I said, I don't know how. She said, we go to therapy. We delete everything. We rebuild. I said, from what? She looked at me like I just told her the sun wasn't real. From us, she whispered. From the part that's still here. Is there a part still here? I feel it sometimes, the muscle memory of home. The way her voice softens when she's talking to the cat. The way she curls her feet under her on the couch. The way she says my name when she's half asleep and doesn't know she's saying it. But then I remember the message I found months ago. The stranger at the bar a few nights ago. And the stranger I became in a chat at 2 a.m. How do you rebuild when the blueprint is a confession? I started walking at night. No headphones. Just sneakers and streetlights and the soft thud of my steps trying to drum a rhythm my heart could follow. I pass apartments with open windows and warm lamplight. People laughing. A TV flashing blue in a living room where someone is probably texting someone they shouldn't. We're all in the same city, pretending our stories are private. I stop at the grocery store, sometimes even when I don't need anything. I buy one apple, a bottle of water, gum I won't chew. The cashier says, "How's your night?" I say, "Quiet," and leave before I start telling the truth to a stranger in a green apron. She keeps trying in 100 tiny ways. She sets an extra place at the table even when we don't sit there. She sends me links to therapists with open slots. She prints out a couple's workbook and leaves it by the bed. She asks if I want to go see the overlook where I plan to propose. She doesn't say it, but I can hear the echo in her voice. I keep doing nothing in 100 tiny ways. I answer only direct questions. I keep the TV low even when I want it loud. I wash my mug and leave hers in the sink because I don't know what kindness means anymore. I open the notebook at night and write the same sentence. I am staying, but I don't know why. Another night I write, I am leaving, but I don't know when. Both feel true. Neither feels like a plan. The future comes to me in flashes now, like a slideshow from a life that belongs to someone I almost was. Slide 1. We're at a little courthouse with 6 chairs and a judge who makes a joke that's actually funny. She cries. I do too. We go for tacos after and tell the server we're celebrating and he brings us a free lime we don't need. Slide 2. We move once more. Bigger windows. A second bedroom that becomes an office and then a nursery and then the room where I put a treadmill and never use it. Slide 3. We fight about something stupid and take a walk and come back holding takeout and a truce. Slide 4. We are old. She's wearing a sweater that pills at the sleeves. I make fun of it and she makes fun of my back pain and we laugh until one of us pretends to cough to hide it. The slideshow ends on the night she didn't come home until morning. I try to click forward. The clicker doesn't work. My sister invited us to dinner. She said she missed us. She asked if we were okay with a tone that suggested she could handle any answer and would prefer none. We didn't go. I told her I had work. She said, "You don't work on Sundays." I said, "I do now." She paused and then just said, "Okay, another time." That "okay" felt like a door closing that I'll need to reopen later with more truth than I have today. Friends texted about a game night. I didn't reply. She sent them a smile emoji and a rain check. We both stared at our phones like they might turn into maps. One evening she said, "Can I ask you something and you won't get mad?" I said, "I can't promise that." She nodded like the answer was what she expected. Then, "Did you do anything when you found my messages before?" There it was, the other ring on the table, the one I forged in the dark. I could lie. I could wrap myself in the comforter of the moral high ground and call it warmth. Or I could unzip it and stand in the cold with both of us. I said, "I asked strangers for pictures." She flinched like I'd thrown something. What? I didn't meet anyone. I didn't go anywhere. It was online. It was trying to make us even. It didn't work. She stared at me like she was counting every time she told herself I was better than anyone else she'd ever been with. She said, "Why didn't you tell me?" I said, "Because I didn't want to be the bad guy in my own story." We sat on the couch with the truth between us like a cracked plate no one knows how to put down without cutting their hands. She said, "We are so broken." I said, "Yes." She said, "I still want us." I said, "I still want to want us." For a second, I thought that might be enough. Then the second ended. I looked up therapists. I scheduled one. Not couples, just me. She said, "That's good. That's a start." The therapist asked me to define safety. I said, "A room where I don't have to watch the door." She said, "Where is that room?" I said, "I don't know yet." She asked me to bring the ring to the next session. I asked why. She said, "Because you keep talking to it." She's right. I talk to the ring more than I talk to her. I pick it up to see if it feels heavier on different days. It doesn't. I feel heavier. That's different. She planned a reset day. No phones. No talk about the past. Just a long walk. Brunch at the place where the pancakes are too big. A movie that requires no opinions. Then cooking dinner together like we used to. I said yes, because saying no all the time starts to taste like metal. The walk was okay. We didn't hold hands. We kept pace without trying. We pointed out dogs. We let one lick our fingers and laughed and wiped our hands on our jeans. At brunch she ordered what I always order. I ordered what she always orders. I don't know if that was cute or sad. It felt like both. The movie was loud and dumb and perfect. We didn't touch. Our shoulders almost did once. I changed positions like the theater was cold. At home, we chopped vegetables to the same playlist we always cooked to. She hummed along. I didn't. Halfway through, she put the knife down and said, "I need to ask for one more chance." There it was, the thing we'd been orbiting for days. The gravity finally got us. "One chance," she said. "Real chance. Not this. Not us avoiding each other in the same apartment. A real attempt. A plan. Therapy together. Rules we both agree to. Full honesty. If you can't do it, I'll accept it. But if there's even 1% of you that can, please." I put my hands flat on the counter. They looked older against the wood. I thought about the overlook, the sentence in the mirror, the ring I kept moving like a nervous habit. I thought about the stranger at the bar and the stranger I became in the dark and the strangers we are to each other right now. "I don't know if I can love you and keep hating you at the same time," I said. "I don't know if I can forgive you and still trust myself after what I did." She nodded, tears catching in her lashes. "I don't need you to know," she said. "I need you to try." Try. That word again. Small, dangerous, heavy. We made a list on the back of an envelope because it felt less terrifying than a document. If we try, Individual therapy continues. Couples therapy weekly. No alcohol for 3 months. Share calendars by choice, not suspicion. No nightlife without each other for now. Phones face down at home, but not policed. Full truth, even when it makes us unlikable. A check-in every Sunday that can't be skipped. If either of us breaks a boundary, we say it the same day. We stared at the list like it was a map to a place we didn't know had roads. She said, "Can we add one more?" I said, "What?" She said, "A real goodbye, if this doesn't work. Not a slow death. Not ghosts. A real goodbye." I swallowed. "Yes," I said, "we owe each other that." For the first time in weeks, something inside me loosened. Not hope, not yet, but a not releasing, because at least we were finally speaking the same language. The truth, even when it sounds like an ending. That night, she slept in our bed. I slept on the couch anyway. Not to punish, to practice, to see if distance could become something other than punishment. At 3 a.m., I woke up and walked to the dresser. The ring waited in the same spot it always waits. Patient like metal is patient. I picked it up, held it in my palm until my hand remembered its weight. Then I did something small that felt big. I put it back in the drawer. Not because she earned it, not because I forgave her, because I needed it out of the room if we were going to try to build another one. I stood at the doorway and watched her sleep, the way I used to when I was sure of us. I didn't feel sure. I felt sober. Sometimes that's better than hope. Sometimes hope lies to you when it's tired of waiting. In therapy, the counselor asked, "What are you afraid of if you stay?" I said, "That I'll never fully stop picturing that night." She asked, "What are you afraid of if you leave?" I said, "That I'll spend years wondering if I threw away a life we could have repaired." She nodded like both answers were sane. Maybe they are. Maybe the worst trap is believing only one choice hurts. She turned to my girlfriend and asked, "Why do you want to stay?" She said, "Because this is my home." The counselor said, "Home isn't a place." She corrected herself, "Because he is." I looked at my hands again. They still looked older, but they were steady. We started our first Sunday check-in at the kitchen table like a team reviewing game footage after a loss. She went first. "I had a dream about the bar," she said. "I woke up sick. I'm terrified you'll never look at me without seeing what I did." I said, "I'm terrified I'll get used to seeing it and call that forgiveness." We sat with that for a while. Then we did something new. We didn't try to fix it. We just let the truth sit between us without poking it. It didn't explode. It didn't disappear. It just existed, finally, where we could see it. I told her I needed one boundary for myself that wasn't on the envelope. No future planning for 60 days, I said. No what ifs. No next summer. No talking about moving or weddings or kids or anything that uses the word forever. 60 days of right now. She agreed. She even smiled a little, like right now was a room she could clean. We ate dinner at the table for the first time in weeks. We didn't talk about the ring. We didn't talk about the bar. We didn't talk about the group I wish I'd never joined. We talked about the movie we watched on the reset day. We argued over the dumbest line. We laughed once by accident and looked away like we'd broken a rule. Maybe we had. Maybe it was okay. Later, she stood in the doorway the way she did the morning after it happened. Only this time she looked at me straight on. "I know I don't deserve it," she said, "but thank you for trying." I wanted to say don't thank me yet. I wanted to say I'm not promising anything. I wanted to say I still see him when I look at you. Instead I said, "Me too." It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't a vow. It was a thread. Sometimes that's how bridges start. Before bed, I opened the notebook and wrote, "I love her. I don't trust her. I don't fully trust me. I'm willing to find out if any of that can change. If it can't, I'll leave gently. If it can, I'll stay honestly." I closed the notebook and slid it under the couch so I couldn't reach for it in the middle of the night and use it like a shield. I turned off every light except the one over the sink, because it makes the apartment look like a place people live, even when they're learning how again. I lay down. I didn't sleep, but I didn't panic either. Between those two, to sleep and to panic, there's a narrow place called breathing. I stayed there as long as I could. 60 days passed. No future talk. No promises. Just truth. Every week at the table. We laughed sometimes. We cried often. We touched carefully, like people testing if the fire was out. The nightmares slowed. The silence softened, but the shadow never fully left. One night, I told her the truth out loud. "I still see him when I look at you." She didn't argue. She didn't beg. She just nodded, tears running down, and said, "I know. And I don't know if I'll ever forgive myself either." That was the moment I understood. Forgiveness isn't always about fixing. Sometimes it's about freeing. I put the ring back in its box for the last time, not because I was angry, because I was done asking it for answers it didn't have. The future we almost built wasn't ours anymore, but the lesson was. Home isn't a person. It isn't an apartment. It isn't even a promise. It's the space you learn to make inside yourself, so no one else's choices can take it away. That's where I live now, and maybe, finally, that's enough.